Hello, welcome back to Telling Tales, and welcome back to a stream with me. It's been a little while, but don't worry, everything is normal, everything is the same, nothing has changed. There's certainly nothing you're looking at about me that's changed. It's merely a figment of your deranged imaginations. But we're going to play some Symbaroum. It's been a couple of months, but let's crack on with our Throne of Thorns campaign. Bear with me, because I will have to remember how all of this works. But it's okay. We'll do all right. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. So let's get the good old blurb out of the way. And God, I'd miss doing that. If you check down below the stream, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, you'll find a number of links to various things that we do. There's our Discord, there's our social media, there's both of those websites, there's merch, there's all kinds of crap. We stream a whole bunch of role-playing. We're currently running 3 kind of long-running campaigns. Wednesdays is obviously Symbaroum. That's this. Yellow King is on alternating Thursdays. The next one of those will be tomorrow. So all my stuff is coming back in 1 week. What a lucky boy. And in my absence, Johnny has been very capably taking the Monday crew through Mass of Nyarlathotep. But that's still, I'd say, new enough that you can go and catch up on it with only several days of dedicated viewing. So check that out. That is all on YouTube now. Everything's on YouTube because we stream on both sites now. How wonderful. I'm just repeating myself. It's all right. It's fine. I'm wondering if there's anything else to say. There's probably nothing else to say. I should probably start bringing on the players in an undetermined order, because normally what I would have done is told them the order they're coming on so that John knows the order to bring on the character art. But I didn't do that. Because everything is strange again. Oh, we'll just start with Chris. Hi, Chris. Hello? Hello, Chris? You're on mute. I can see you're on mute. And also, we can't hear you. I'm going to take Chris away. And then I'm going to bring on John. Are you on mute, John?
I cannot be on mute. I have
good.
that capability.
That's positive. Right. Well, Chris is going to refresh StreamYard. So we'll see if that does anything. We'll find out. John plays Sir Arindar, the last scion of House Dar, nobleman, duelist, cat fancier. John, it's been a couple of months since Symbaroum. Have you got any thoughts on the return of Symbaroum? Horrified, daunted, thrilled?
Yay.
Succinct?
I'm a little bit intimidated that we've come back in on what I think is probably going to be a fairly hefty combat session.
Total party wipe.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be a downer for the audience. That's what I'm saying. Wait 2 months to watch all of their favorite characters die.
It's a downer for me just having to come back and do all the work for this. It's a downer all around, really. Welcome back, everyone. Did you miss us? So let's try Chris again. Shall we try Chris again? Let's see what's happening with Chris.
Hello.
Oh, wow. Okay, wonderful. He is with us again. Chris plays Steo. Steo is a man with a spear and a whole bunch of trauma. He is a former infantryman turned city guard, turned sellsword, turned reluctant peacemaker between the various factions of the world, it seems. Chris, how much have you missed Symbaroum in your life? Be honest. You're on mute. Or are you?
I'm just going to unmute you, okay? Oh, I can't.
Yeah, there's something up with Chris's mic connection. Good Lord. None of this was a problem before the stream started. I should flag. But there we go. Okay. Well, while Chris sorts out his issues, let's see if... Oh, it's mute's van. Oh, my God. Mute vanished, and then Chris vanished. This is phenomenal. Stephen, hello.
Hi. I'm not convinced Chris will ever sort out his issues, but
but maybe the muting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Stephen plays Alindra, former Templar turned sellsword, always ready with a large blade to hack things apart, sometimes if they don't even deserve them. Stephen, have you missed Symbaroum?
I have, and I'm thrilled to be back.
Have you missed this?
Yeah, this is my thrilled face.
This nonsense. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like what could be better than getting together with some like-minded folks and just being miserable in a fantasy world.
And all having mute mic issues.
Yeah. You got to throw some technical issues into the mix, and you've got a recipe for a good / bad time.
I should say mute mic issues, not mute mic issues. We won't mute Mike, partly because he's not going to be here tonight, but also just because he does it enough to himself. Okay, let's bring on our final player. I mean, not counting Chris. It's Sam. Plays Askrai, Changeling Ranger, Scout, Archer, one shotter of bosses and partial shotter of friends and allies. Sam, are you excited to be back in the world of Symbaroum?
I'm really excited. Especially where we left off, I feel like we've got lots of people to kill. As you say, some friends, some allies. That's what I'm here for.
Good. One thing I did say I was going to do to myself before the start of the stream, and then I didn't do that, was I was going to... well, that's... Okay, Chris is not showing a mute symbol, so hopefully it should be good.
I'm staying very quiet. I think I'll just mute by not talking for this session.
Fair enough. Yeah, one thing I said I was going to do before that, I was like, Matt, definitely remember to remind everyone that the combat difficulty is really ramping up at this point, and not to like necessarily think that every combat should be addressed like head on. Think tactically, try and like work out a way forward. But then I didn't. But now I've said it to them publicly in front of everyone, which means that I cannot be held accountable for anything. Let's just say a stat block I was working on recently, I was looking at it going, I don't know how they're going to deal with this. So that's fun for everyone, as I'm sure you agree. Okay then, shall we do a recap? And by that I mean, shall I do a recap? Because I know what's happened, but I'm aware not everyone might. So we're playing a story that's kind of like in between arcs called What's Bred in the Bone. The general notion of this is that these fine people, these fine sellswords, signed up with Desaber the Old, the living saint of the Church of Prios, to travel across the land of Ambria, with their destination being Ravenna. Upon arriving there, it became clear that there was trouble in the city, trouble of a Desaber's ally being murdered sort of flavor. And after a great deal of investigation and nudging around, all of which happened in one day, bizarrely, but here we are. Basically, you found out that Umbardo, the ally of Desaber and Duke Inadar, had been killed by the Inquisition of the Church of Prios. There was a great deal of bad blood there involving an old kind of high theurg who had committed war crimes and stuff to do with the barbarian population of the town, witches and dukes and secrets, sort of mild heresies. Oh my. But it all culminated with you tracking down the representative of the Whip of Prios, who had fled the city with a captive. You recovered the captive, spoke to the Whip of Prios, and basically found out that there was a large group of former Templars, Knights of Dead Prios, known as a son of them. That's the name. That's like their collective name for a large regiment of them, heading towards Ravenna, tipped off to the Duke's mild heresy, and probably determined to burn the place to the ground. And essentially, you were thrust into the role of the Duke's helpers in rounding up some other people to fight off this menace. And immediately what you had just done before we ended last time was Arindar had bizarrely become a silver-tongued devil who convinced the local trading house to grant some of their soldiers. Elindra had returned to disable the old and had ensured that she was brought into the city, along with a vast kind of like trail of pilgrims following her. Oh, not really pilgrims because they didn't have to go anywhere. Faithful worshippers following her. And Ascarine Steo had recruited the local fortune hunters to the cause. Also, notably, had been summoned the liturgs of the Sun Church, the master of the local chapter of the Order Magica, and Envoy Mulgara, the leader of the local barbarian interests. And basically, you'd arrive back at the Mound, the large area at the center of Ravenna where the palace is and the inner walls. And a war council had been summoned in a large marquee tent. You basically went in there and we ended the session, and then nothing happened for 2 months. So that is where we are. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that, or does everyone agree that I've done an excellent job?
I agree.
Good. As well you should. If you know what's good for you. Okay. With that in mind, let's pick up exactly where we left off. It is, I believe, and here's where I forget little details. We're in summer, right? I seem to remember it being like very warm, right? And sunny.
Yeah, I think it had been
festival time.
Yeah, it's festival time. It was long days, like it was getting dark.
Yeah. I think you're like early summer because you'd spent a couple of months fucking around doing nothing after the winter ended at the end of Witchhammer. Yeah. So you enter this tent, which is pleasantly cool, very, very light, very airy. You know, the sun is shining through it and giving everything a kind of faint greenish tint. There is a large table set up at the center of it. There's no kind of food and drink laid out just yet, but there are a number of people already sat there. Duke Inadar enters and sits himself alongside the Witch Gaia, his adjutant Belalia. There is the captain of the watch and Lieutenant Ialna have also seated themselves. Commander Berlio, that's his name. And then in addition to that, there is a Order Magica mage that you do not recognize. She looks lean and kind of, if anyone you've ever met looked kind of fox-like and cunning, it would be this person. And he's kind of looking around with a slight disgruntled look on her face. Oddly, the High Priest Leandro is there, sat in a chair and being attended to by the liturgs. He is still battered and bloody, but has apparently awoken and seems to be intent on being here for this. In addition, is there anyone else I'm forgetting? The Envoy Mulgara is there, sat on the edge of the table and watching all the Ambrians go about their war council business with some curiosity. I think that's everyone. Good Lord. No, there will be one more person. Of course, there is one more person. There is someone else you don't recognize wearing Steo. You recognize someone wearing like it's definitely a military uniform, although one you're not familiar with. It's wearing like the arms of Ravenna and of Inadar. The rank on his shoulder guard would indicate a colonel in the Ambrian sense. So you suspect it's the commander of the Mound's soldiers. There are seats for all of you, and Duke Inadar kind of most people stood when he entered, and he kind of like waves everyone to sit down and says, we should operate first with all the information we can have. Who do we think has kind of taken the lead talking to Inadar to this point? I think it's probably Steo. Steo was quite sort of forthcoming. Or is it too long ago for us to really remember?
I think, yeah, Steo tends not to talk to nobles all that much, but I do recall Chad being a bit more kind of because this guy came across as very matter of fact, so he probably would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think if there's military chat to be had, Steo is probably the kind of the primary person for that.
I vaguely remember you pushing me forward at first, but then once I'd done the hello, greetings, Duke thing, I think you were the one that took over to say actually useful things.
Fair enough. Oh, also there, sorry, just to add more names into the mix is DeSaber along with Fenring and Earthons, who is drawing a few curious looks. Sergeant Steo, I do not need you to regale everyone here with the tale of your investigations today. But if you could confirm what the witch Algaia says to everyone via your own learnings after she has finished, please do so. Algaia kind of stands up, peers around at everyone, is also drawing a few curious looks, or even a couple of disapproving looks from various people, and says, "A son of your dead knights approaches." I counted over 50, perhaps near 100. It was difficult to tell. They were moving under cover of trees. They will be here, I would say, within 2 hours. Before sundown. There is a bit of murmuring, and Duke Inadar kind of looks over at you, Steo.
We didn't see the troop. We only saw the one who had fled town. He was resplendent in his desire that this just be a retribution.
I should say the Whipper Prios was a she, but yes. Oh no, Chris does not take well to being corrected. Okay, going well. But I imagine yes, Steo would just confirm what Algaia has essentially said, or at least this is also your understanding of it. Inadar does in fact look at the rest of the four of you, 5 including Revelia, I suppose, and say, and this tallies with all of the knowledge you've gathered in your investigations.
To the best of our understanding, they are coming. They're going to be here soon in massive numbers. We've seen what very small groups of these Templars are capable of.
Leandro kind of coughs slightly and dabs a handkerchief at a bloody welt on the side of his head and says, "My Duke, one of these nights is enough for 4, 5 of your Mound Guard. They are not to be trifled with." Duke Inadar nods and says, "Well, as it stands currently, we have not a small amount of defenders. There are 40 men and women of the City Watch, 30 soldiers of Mound Guard, all trained, all fighters, but as you say, no match for a former Sun Knight at the peak of their powers. We have these fine individuals here with us, and perhaps other people here can pledge their aid if required. But first, I would like to hear how our friends here have done speaking with others out in the town." He looks over at you, Arindar, first. It's fine if you can't remember the information, but I'm also happy for you to have the information. It's up to you.
I don't have the gentleman's name.
Iberio.
But the master of the merchant house has agreed to send his finest men to accompany us in exchange for a small amount of tax relief for the next few years.
Also, there was he wanted some competent, well-heeled sellswords to accompany a shipment going to Agrella.
And I will pass that along as well.
And yeah, no tax duty for the next 2 years is what you whittled him down to. So,
yes. He had at first proposed 5, but I impressed upon him the need for tax money to rebuild any damage that may be sustained by the good city. And he graciously backed down.
Bellalia leans forward and says, "The tax break will be a bitter pill to swallow, but it is good that you knocked him down from that. My Duke, Galea has 15 to 20 trading house guards. They're mercenaries. They're not, security staff. They will be fighters, but again, no match for the Templars." Duke Inadar nods and says, "Very well done, Sadar. Sergeant Steo, Master Ascarai, how did your interaction with the Fortune Hunters of Ravenna go?"
We got them eventually.
Do you want me to relay like the cost and
I can't
the details?
remember how much it was.
Yeah. That's all fine. You spoke to the retired monster slayer called Othelda for a. I mean, it wasn't an unreasonable price, honestly. I think she said that there were kind of between 10 and 15 people who would be paid to fight Templars there, and they would get 20 Thala and a year's forest license each. And then she and a large ogre called No Good would get 50 Thala and a year's license, which all told, I mean, the Duke has a lot of Thala. It's not that much for an outlay. Yeah. Is there any details you want to add to that?
Yeah, so about 20 sellswords at 20 Thaler each. The good lady and No Good the ogre will be around, but they'll want 50 Thaler and licenses for all thereafter. Given the situation, that's not the worst.
It is not, and having competent and experienced forest goers has to be an advantage. Elindra, I can see that you brought the Lady Desaber inside. We thank you for that. Desaber leans forward and says, "I appreciate this, my Duke, and I did bring as many of the individuals out by the docks up here as I could. I am more than happy for my caravan guards to weigh in on your forces. They have varied experience between them, but there are at least 2 very fine fighters alongside the others you have met." She indicates kind of Fenring and Urfons stood next to her. "My thanks, Lightbringer." Which brings us to others around the table. He glances over at Leandro, who seems to genuinely be struggling to sit up. Kind of his face is coming, like the bruises are coming up, right? The whip of Prios beat the absolute shit out of him to extract a confession, and it very much shows. He waves one of the liturgs aside, the large barbarian man, and says, "We have no combat priests left at the Sun Temple since the death of the old first Theurg, my Duke, but myself, the liturgs, several others, we can heal. We can stand at the rear. Wounded men can come to us. We can provide some small protection. I wish we could do more, but that is all we can do." You can see that his hand is shaking as he's holding himself upright. The Duke nods. "That is more than enough, Father Leandro. Thank you." Will the Ordo Magica be providing aid? the master of the chapter leans forward and says, well, it is difficult to understand, perhaps, why we should put ourselves quite at risk. This is, after all, a ducal and civic predicament.
The Black Templars aren't going to be able to discern the difference between a sinner and an academic with quite the rigor I think you might be counting on, Master.
And we can protect our own if it comes to it. She looks at Inadar with a faint smile on her face. What do you want, Lavinia? I'm so glad you asked. Financing for an expedition to the Cobalt Temple over the Ravens. Done. Then the Order Magical will provide aid. Several of us. 2 masters, 2 adepts, and a few able novices. And we are not limited to standing at the back and healing. If the Templars attempt to burn Ravenna, we will burn them back. Very well. Finally, Envoy Mulgara. What of your folk? The envoy stands up and rounds the table a bit so that she's kind of quite close, kind of standing, talking directly to Inadar, kind of ignoring everyone else that's there. We have our own demands, but I can put 33 experienced clan warriors, 2 young but competent witches at your disposal. And what are your demands? First, that you do not defend yourself from behind your walls. The people of Barbarian Town, they cannot all fit within the mound. They may not even be able to remain inside the inner city. But they are your people as well. And even if you did bring them in, Barbarian Town would burn to the ground. That cannot happen. Many of my clan and others have invested a considerable amount of time and resources and respect in uniting with the people of Ravenna. At a crucial hour, that cannot be forsaken. Well, tactically speaking, Envoy, the walls, the colonel butts in and says, may not be the advantage you think they are, my duke. Correct me if I'm wrong. He looks around and kind of takes the measure of people around the room and says, I would lay good copper that we have 2 former Templars standing here. You stand in a certain way, sir, madame. 2 with the saber. He's pointing to you and Fenring, Alindra. Correct me if I'm wrong. Many Templars are learned in the mystical arts, no?
Some, yes.
And I'm sure the chapter master can tell us more than a few of her novices can probably break the bonds of earth and lift themselves to a wall.
I do not believe that these walls are going to provide you with any safety. I think anybody that is not represented in this tent as people that are going to stand and fight need to be evacuated from this place. We can't fill those walls with innocent people on the assumption that we can win this fight.
Fenring nods and says, even if every one of the Templars in that sun cannot lift themselves atop the walls, it is guaranteed that at least one will be able to achieve this for Ivano Viara. And the moment that Ivano Viara is atop that wall is lost.
We're aiming here to buy time for the people that can get out.
The Duke kind of says, many people will refuse to leave. We do understand this.
Then we will fight to defend those we can.
The envoy says, and we will fight to defend Barbarian Town. This is our place. All right. Granted. We will not sit behind our walls, and we will not let Barbarian Town burn, envoy. What, is that all you ask? Mulgara shakes her head and says, you know what else I ask. Mulgara, now is not the time. Mulgara reaches out and caresses two of her fingers down the side of Duke Inadar's face. Your city is ready, even if your Queen's land is not. Inadar looks around. Bilalia kind of looks a bit hesitant and kind of shrugs. Everyone else looks fairly... Actually, no. Everyone out who doesn't live in Ravenna looks a bit mystified. Everyone in Ravenna is kind of watching with a kind of very studied... I'm not at all interested in what's happening right now. Indifference. Inadar says, all right. Yes. Mulgara drops her hand back down and says, then Clan Vajvad stands behind you. Inadar says, we will talk about this later. And Mulgara says, I know. Well, if we don't sit behind our walls, what do we do? Do we just set our forces on the fields to the north of the city?
Is there anything to be said for a flank?
The colonel says, you need to split your forces to flank. I'm not sure we have enough to do that.
Is there a time and a place for an ambush? I don't know what the roads in here are like.
Algaia says the approach is open. It would not surprise me if you could see the dust from their horses even now. Let's have... Elindra said it, so I will assume that Elindra has not thought of it. Just a stupid little narrative thing. But does everyone else want to roll cunning? And I'm going to say it's a -3 apart from Steo. Because Steo's a military guy. Or a former military guy. Okay. Both of you have a vague notion that if they have to approach the gates through Barbarian Town, a place with a lot of clustered buildings, places to hide, it's certainly an option.
They'll lose their effective... No, please excuse me, I am not a tactician, I'm an infantryman. They'll lose their effective numerical advantage if we can get them into the tighter streets.
The colonel leans back and steeples his fingers.
If we take them by surprise in some way, I've seen Ascarai for sure take down some mighty fierce people beings when they're unprepared. If we can get some good archers, maybe some of the mages.
Build some roadblocks, funnel them into an area.
if we have alchemists or engineers, if anyone has gunpowder, we could try to split them. Or direct them in some way.
Not sure we have the time for anything as complex as that. There is something to this, though. We would have to convince the inhabitants of Barbarian Town to retreat all within the walls. Mulgara shrugs and says, I am not certain that would work.
That's where the fight needs to happen. So I think anybody that's in Barbarian Town needs to be prepared to defend it.
Fenring says it would somewhat neutralize their cavalry charge.
We can't face this on a field. They're built for that.
The colonel carries on kind of ruminating. By the outer gate, then some of our ranged component can go mid-wall. There's a couple of tall buildings there. Maybe we don't need all of Barbarian Town cleared. We'd have to close the gate. If they see an open gate, they'll assume. But then if they see an open gate and they can take a wall, why would they attack the gate? Maybe they would take a different point along the wall.
If they see a closing gate, their blood will be up. They're out for heretics.
Algaia says, you are all assuming they do not have agents still in Barbarian Town. Well, does anyone else have anything to add?
Could we perhaps lead them on a chase? Bait them round to, well, away from Barbarian Town and hopefully somewhere more advantageous to us.
The colonel shakes his head. They're on horseback. Sadar. One cannot lead them on a chase if one is slower.
We can get horses.
Not enough. We can't put our entire force on horses. Many of them won't ride. Duke Inadar says, well, nothing seems ideal. But from what I've heard, our options stand at this. We meet them on an open battle in the fields. We can partially neutralize their cavalry charge by having our backs to the wall, correct? The colonel goes, yes, they won't be able to get a flanking charge from that. And from what I've heard of Ivano Fiari, he's a mad bastard enough that he'll charge at a front rank. And they'll do damage, but we'll do some damage back. It means no retreat, my duke. All right. Or we set an ambush somewhere within Barbarian Town. Many people may not move out of there. They could be caught in the crossfire. And also, we do not know if there are agents of the Whipper Prios still here to tell them where we hide, thus neutralizing our ambush and potentially turning the situation around on us. Our third opportunity may be to ambush them at the gate. But that involves luring them to the gate, which they may be too canny for, and has the same problems as the ambush in Barbarian Town. Is there anything else anyone would like to propose with the knowledge that the hours are passing? Does anyone have any opinion on these that they have not said before?
I am slightly concerned if we try to draw them to the gate that they will choose to burn Barbarian Town as they go, and that half the city will already be in flames by the time they meet us.
The envoy says, I agree. I would be somewhat comfortable with an ambush at the borders of Barbarian Town. Could we not hide at the very edge and erupt as they come forwards? I suppose there is less constraint on their horses there, but it would give us an ambush, a minimum of damage to the town, assuming we are victorious. And perhaps if we set along the edge, we can have more control over who knows we are there.
And it would give those in Barbarian Town who wish to flee more time.
The Duke looks over at the Colonel, who kind of, in the best possible way, kind of shrugs. Like, he doesn't seem to think there's a lot in it. This seems like a good compromise. And I have made a political career of compromise. All right. Envoy Mulgara, Colonel, find a location at the edge of Barbarian Town. Everyone else, prepare yourselves. Stock up on anything you need. We will move out within the next 20 minutes. Good luck. He stands up and gives one last glance at Mulgara before walking out of the tent.
Well.
Right. Come on, so-called heroes of the sinkhole. Let's go and sharpen our blades or something. I'll stand up and move for the exit.
Yeah. Asquith's going to go find a bunch of arrows to fill his quiver.
Sure. Yeah, the adjutant has made sure, like, all the mound guard are, like, stacking their, like, barracks equipment outside here, and there's a lot of stuff to grab. If anyone has anything they particularly want that they don't have. There's nothing fancy enough to, like, oh, I'll take this for future use. But if there's a thing you want right now for this that you don't have, then go for it, you know.
I will grab, I think it would be fair for me to grab like 3 herbal cures from the big pile of herbal cures that maybe some of the priests have put together.
That's fine. Yeah, you can grab. Well, you know what? Rather than just name an arbitrary amount, I will actually roll. I will roll a d4 for everything on how many of a thing you manage to secure. And, like, you can't all go grab d4. I will say there's d4 herbal cures randomly available to you. And that is 4. So, you know, whether Steo gets all 4 or what we're doing with that, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'll take 2 and probably hand 2 to Anton.
Sure.
I already have 2 as well, for the record. Are we near? I don't know if it's the stables that I want. Like, someone to go persuade to hitch up some wagons to some horses, as many as we can manage, so that we can go and dump wagons in streets as sort of impromptu roadblocks to try to kind of narrow things down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. People are unlikely to take your orders. And I imagine the barracks doesn't have many wagons, but, like, you can try and find someone and try and rustle something up if you want.
I will try. I don't know if they have any, like, particular kind of trading ports or, like, you know, places where kind of goods come and go.
Oh, there are many of them, but you are not going to get there and back in 20 minutes.
Okay. Fair enough. Then I don't know how to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly either. But you could definitely, like, talk around. The colonel is gone, but there are like high-ranking, Berlioz is there. He might be a good man to talk to about it.
Cool. I will run this by Berlioz and see if he can go talk to someone. And like, the more wagons we can get to whichever bit of town we end up in, I think the better.
Berlioz agrees that it is a good idea, and he sends a runner to a nearby city watch post to try and get as many wagons as they can to the area. I mean, the wagons will also take more time to get there than everyone else will, but like, yeah, you'll see what comes of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Arendar and Askarai, are you doing anything? Askarai's gathering arrows, but yeah.
Yeah, gathering arrows, checking all my equipment that I have, making sure it's all ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing anything. I am debating whether to try and leave Farron behind here.
Right.
Because I think, I don't know, I can't imagine a meerkat being super useful against an army, and I'm worried about him getting under hoof. But also, I don't want to. I think there will be enough people there that his advantage will not be significant.
You could ask him to like guard the Theurgs.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Or Desaber.
Yes. Is Desaber going to stay with the Theurgs? Has Desaber said where she's going to go?
You know what? No. So why don't you, if you want to know, why don't you ask her?
Yeah, I will approach Desaber.
She turns looking tired, but kind of energized, honestly. Those sound contradictory, but I know I feel like that a lot of the time. And she says, Sadar. She's kind of half leaning on Fenring, who's sort of looking around, clearly kind of quite pensive.
I've forgotten how to address. It's just Lightbringer, right?
You can call her Lightbringer. Yeah,
Lightbringer. I noticed you didn't speak your intentions.
I don't spend much time thinking about war, Sadar. I'm not sure I would have much to add. But if the Church of Prios is there, then so will I be. Fenring says, Lightbringer, I don't... Shh. It is fine, Fenring.
I was wondering if... Well, I don't think my companion here will have much of a chance against a great number of mounted enemies. I was wondering if perhaps he could be your guardian for the night.
Oh. Well, that is very generous of both you and Farron, Sadar. I will gladly accept. She bends over slightly and proffers her hand towards Farron, who, to your surprise, sniffs it and takes a couple of padding steps over to her and rubs his face along the side of her robe.
I hope to find you both in good health when this night is over.
I'm sure you will. Do not have fear, Sadar.
Thank you, Lightbringer. And I will leave.
Okay. Is there anything else from anyone before we want to start proceeding to the edge of Barbarian Town?
Lindra will, like, she's kind of checking her armor and like fixing stuff up, and then like as she's kind of doing that, she kind of winces and like stops to consider that actually she's quite badly injured. And will maybe hand one of her herbal cures to Steo or Anton and be like, would you mind?
The kind of Theurgs and Liturgs are also standing by, like both blessing people, but also like people are like, okay, I'm a bit battered, like they are healing people as well.
Okay, yeah. So like whoever seems like they have that kind of in hand, Alindra needs patching up before this thing.
Absolutely. If you stand around that area, then you know what, Leandro is still kind of someone has carried a chair out here for him to sit in, and he beckons towards you and says, "Sir Knight, I believe you are one of the fine warriors to have rescued me from the grips of the whip."
That's correct.
Well then, please allow me to bless you. He kind of reaches out towards you, and if I can find quickly the rules for laying on hands, where is it? No, that's not there. I just want to see how, like, why have I not got it? Where is it? Lay on hands. There we are. Okay, yeah. Give me a D12 roll.
That was a 12.
Well, regain 12 toughness then.
Damn.
Does that put you back
Does
at
that put you
full?
back at full?
I think it does, yeah.
Nice.
I think that is literally the first time in about 8 months Cylinder's been on full HP.
She heals up all right over time, but like she's really bad at telling people that she's injured. So,
yeah, you feel the warmth from Leandro's touch kind of suffuse you. You've been healed by Anton like this before, but this is like a different, order of. It's not literally a different order of magnitude, but it is a different order of magnitude. He kind of pats your arm when he's done and says, "I'm sure you will deliver Prios justice to these false Templars, just as you did to the others tonight."
thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to move to Barbarian Town? Okay.
Yep.
You are all on the return of the Colonel. He kind of moves among the gathering group of people. I don't suppose did anyone tot up the grand total of people who were available?
There were a couple that were like rangers, but my rough count was maybe about 165.
Oh, I think that's phenomenally too high.
Okay. So I've got 40 plus 30.
Oh, I guess it does start at 70.
Plus
yeah.
Us, which I put as 5, but it's actually 6. But
Yep.
5. 15 to 20 for the house guards, the trading house.
Yep.
20 sellswords.
It's not 20 sellswords.
I think it was 10 or 15. Theo said 20.
Yeah, call it 15.
15. 2 big caravan guards plus a miscellaneous amount of others.
Yeah, I guess with the caravan, altogether with the caravan, there's probably about, in addition to you, I'd say there's 10 people.
Yeah. Some Ordo Magica.
2 masters, 2 adepts, some novices.
Yeah, call them 10 in total.
10. 33 clan warriors and 2 witches.
Yep.
Right,
and I guess you can count the Sun Temple's 10 priests as well. They're not fighting, but okay, that's a fair amount then.
So 30, 70, 75, 90, 105, 115, 125, 160 plus the Theogs, which is another 10.
Fair enough. I stand corrected. Well, that's quite a lot of people moving through Barbarian Town. The Colonel gave you orders to try and space out and not be quite so obvious, but you are a long line of 170 people moving through Barbarian Town, all armed, all like prepared for battle, essentially. So, and as you're going, you can see that like clan warriors are like breaking off and speaking to people in the buildings around you. Those people kind of all go a bit pale and then gather up some things, go to another house and start talking to them in there. And as you're about halfway towards the point that's been picked, that's like around the center of the north of Barbarian Town, the streets around you are noticeably emptying. So some form of evacuation does seem to be happening.
Does it look like people are heading back towards the walls, or are they heading just the opposite direction? Okay.
There's a mix as well, and like you can definitely hear quite a bit of, not a ruckus, but like noise coming back from the inner city that suggests that the Ambrian people are telling the Ambrians as well, like anyone who wants to flee, sort of thing. So there is things like this are happening. But it's not a good day to order a general evacuation, because up until recently, everyone thought it was a festival day. So, yeah. But still, it's a strange feeling to be going to a battle for the sake of a town when the town didn't really know until just now that it's certainly odd. And you can hear kind of like some cries and shouts further back from people who are maybe refusing to believe or causing trouble or something. But for what it's worth, all the people that you have seem to be moving towards where you're moving to with determination.
Presumably, the people that do want to leave have a road to do that is not the one that the Templars are arriving on.
Yeah. There's a road alongside the river to the south of the city. There's numerous ways out of Ravenna. The Templars are not arriving, but they're arriving by small country paths, essentially, or like over the fields. You know where you went out up to the Whipper Prios and it was just like fields and farms and stuff like that? That's the direction they're coming from. So, yeah. Okay. Before long, you find yourself at clearly the area that's been picked to spring the sort of assault on. You're not too far from the walls. You can see like further along, and presumably if the Templars are coming in, like it's an assumption that they'll come near this area of Barbarian Town to begin with. And as the Colonel passes among you, he's telling everyone this, and you hear him tell other people, and then as he passes you, he will like lean in. He's like he's sort of like a man of middle years, and why not? Because it's, in keeping with my current thing, he has a shaved head and a big mustache, and he kind of leans in, and let's pick one of you for him to lean into and interact with on this. It is Alindra. He leans in and says, Sir Knight, these are the general orders. I'm trying to make sure everyone knows, but if you can pass it along to any others you think need to hear it again, we are hoping that they will come near here as they enter Barbarian Town. This is the obvious point to enter Barbarian Town. There is a open, clear market area right on the edge of the town there. The walls are nearby if they mean to proceed to the gates. It's our best guess. However, if they do come near here, a signal, several beats of the drum will indicate to either form ranks or charge, depending on how they are gathered, how they are approaching. This will have to be played by ear to a certain extent. If, on the other hand, you hear a clash of cymbals, then we are to move out onto the field and form ranks. They are too far away for the ambush. We must meet them on the field.
Understood. I will pass that on. And I'll go do so.
He carries on. All the buildings around this kind of like marketplace have been emptied. So people have kind of moved into there. Everyone's kind of, as you'd imagine, sticking quite closely to their like groups of individuals. Notably, there's a tall building right at the head of the marketplace, and you see the members of the Ordo Magica and a number of archers from the trading house head in there and kind of start to set up at the windows. You see a couple of them kind of peeking out before leaning back in. Otherwise, it's all kind of like, there's not much to separate one building from another. With that in mind, there's a couple of things. First, does anyone want to take that building that is taller than the others? I could imagine maybe Askar might want to, but also might not want to. But otherwise, who are we staying with? Like, which group do we feel that we want to like stick to at this stage?
I'm personally most invested in Fons and Fenrig, but
so just the caravan guards you arrived in the city with, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone disagree with that?
I think for this situation, the clan folk will probably fight the most like us. So that also kind of makes sense, but we've fought with our Fons before. I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer for this. I think it's pick your favorite way to die. One thing I would like to prophesy is that if there is at the head of at the entrance maybe of the market, if this big tower is being taken, we should probably find a place where we can maybe set up crossfire and maybe do a little kind of interdiction from the other side. But that's probably
the other side is the open fields to the north of the city. Like there is no. And when I say a tall, it's 2-story.
Yeah.
Like, and all the other buildings are single story, quite low. So there's no place to. I believe the technical term you're evoking is defilade, and there's no place to set that up.
I hate that I know that now. Yeah, go ahead.
Ascarai, I feel like the second floor's going to be an advantage to you here. I know sometimes we get in your way.
Sorry, it's not. It's enfilade. I was flipping them for no real reason. Anyway, who we? So caravan guards. We've had mention of the barbarian. Who are we going with?
Well, yes, I would like to be in the tower. If only to avoid hitting any of you. But ideally, you would be close by. I equally don't want to be separated from all of you.
Let's take another building that's around that square then, that's nearby, that we can kind of come out of. Does that work?
Yeah, we put Ascarai on the roof, even if it's not a tall one. You can hide up for the 5 minutes and then.
Yeah. But
and can we talk your man and the guards into joining us there? Like, does it look like they have a plan?
Which man in the guards?
Erfons and the other guy.
Oh, right, and Fenring. Okay. Yeah, in fact, Erfons is kind of like wandering through various people moving into buildings and kind of sees you and comes over to you and says, we brought the Lightbringer in her cart. She's a bit back from here. It's just beyond that where that road turns. Do we have a notion? I'll bring the guards up. Fenring is staying. She says when battle is joined, she wants to be pushed nearer to the rear. Fenring is going to stay alongside her, I'm sure, but we should not just form a circle around the Lightbringer. We should be at the forefront.
Pick one of these houses then between the distance.
I think maybe the plan would be put Ascarai up top and we defend the building.
Do you think you can climb up to that roof, Ascarai?
And here we go.
Well, I can't give you a boost.
I'll do it. Come here.
Okay. It's like it's basically a cube of a building, right? And with a bit of help, Theo, you can hoist Ascarai up to it. Obviously, if you're hiding at the start, you'll have to lie down on it. But after the battle starts, you could stand up and get a fairly decent view. Like, you're going to be a large man on a large horse might be at a height that they could take a swipe at you, but like it's still higher. Like from a firing into the battle perspective, it's much better than being on the ground.
Okay, seems good.
Right, let's see if they left any valuables in here then.
You all head into this building. So this is just you and the caravan guards in this building then. Most of the caravan guards looking a little nervous, it has to be said. Erfons, no. But notably, the only other caravan guard who looks completely at ease is, do we remember the guard you recruited from the frontier town who had knifed one of your other compatriots?
Yep.
His will looks unshakable. So everything goes very quiet. Stephen, did you want to say something? Sorry.
I was just, for future reference, did any of us remember that guy's name?
I didn't. I don't think I gave him a name.
Okay.
Everything goes very quiet. Everyone seems to be hiding relatively well. I mean, you know they're all there. So perhaps you're not the best judges, but it does seem that it's worth noting, by the way, that because you're more at the rear, I should do a little drawing of this, really, shouldn't I? To like give more of a sense of what's going on. Let me see if I can do that. So there's it's like a sort of deep semicircle, or like a half oblong of buildings that are around here with a couple of roads leading off. I'm doing that thing where, you know, every time you draw a little like diagram of something, you're like, I hope by the end of it, this doesn't look like something horribly obscene. Is that just me?
It's like two lumps with a long corridor coming off it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of what it looks like. You're at the edge of Barbarian Town. Hopefully that's not obscene. Oh, it is a bit, isn't it? Fuck it. I don't care. This is a well, believe it or not. That's where you get your drinking water. Right here. That's where you get your drinking water.
At the belly button.
Okay. You're thinking of it in less obscene terms than me.
Oh no, the obscene bit's still there.
Oh, it is kind of, isn't it? Yeah. This was not intentional. This was not intentional. This is a well.
God's sake, someone clip this nonsense.
This is a well, not a belly button or an anus. This whole thing here was this is like the marketplace, right? We've got buildings all around. We've got a couple of roads leading further into Barbarian Town at the bottom. And this here is the tower, not a penis. And then over here, this is the building you're in, right? The hip pouch, right? The little hip pouch on this Rob Liefeld naked person. Yeah. Like when I said I worry every time I do a sketch that's going to be interpreted as obscene. I literally wasn't seeing it. I wasn't like, oh, but this one is, but like I literally didn't know. And then I immediately showed it, and people were like, "That's the most grotesque anatomical obscenity I've ever seen in my life."
I feel like you could have just showed it to us like a different way round, and it would have been 10 times better. But you picked like the absolute like that.
Well, that's
reasonable.
because this is north. They're coming down from there. Like, it wouldn't make any sense for me to, you know.
Okay.
Then this is just a weird video game character with a little headdress and a.
No, if you put it upside down, then it's a robot with its arms in the air.
Sure. Well, maybe this is a robot with their arms with just nice little legs.
It's good to be back.
Over it? It's good to be back. Are we over it? Do we want this on a t-shirt? New merch just dropped. Oh god, I don't want to look in the comments. Steve says he's pretty certain Twitch has rules against lewd maps.
Yeah, if it doesn't, it's just about to.
Right. Well, now that I've ruined the atmosphere, yes, as I say, everything has gone very quiet, very silent. Askarai, you can get a slightly better view where you are, and you can see a column of dust moving out in the fields above the city. and a kind of vague shadow on the horizon of people moving en masse. As you are kind of lay there, there is a scrabble on the roof next to you, and suddenly the witch Algaia is there, laying alongside you.
Good to see you.
Half-elf. Look out there, to the northwest, in that brush. Do you think that is someone hiding? Give me a vigilant roll, please.
Okay. That's a 1, which feels like a slightly wasted one. We're about to fight for our lives, but still a 1.
There is definitely someone hiding in that brush.
There's someone there. I guess not one of ours.
I wonder if they came from Barbarian Town. I will see what they are about. If there is a noise, make sure it does not trigger anything.
I'll do my best.
She scrabbles back from you, dips out of sight, and a raven erupts from the alleyway next to the building. Spirals into the air, flies over at speed, circles several times, and then dives. Being as you're paying attention, I don't think anyone else would hear. They're inside and there. But can you give me a vigilant roll at -4?
Yep, that's a 7.
Okay. You hear a muffled and distant, horrible cry of pain.
Does it sound like Elgaia or not Elgaia?
You can't tell.
Okay.
Okay. About another 20 or so minutes passes. It's worth emphasizing, Steo is used to this feeling, maybe even Alindra to some degree. This is difficult waiting. And even if your characters do not feel overwhelming fear or reluctance, many of the people around you will. The caravan guards you're with are fairly sturdy sellswords, but still there is a lot of praying. There is a lot of nervous activity, from shaking and double and triple checking everything to people desperately needing to move to the back of the building to urinate in a corner. Things like this. You hear a couple of people in buildings nearby you vomiting. Is anyone doing anything to prepare themselves further?
Askar is going to keep a very close eye to try and figure out as early as possible if they're coming close enough that our ambush will work. Or
Okay.
if they're not going to come close enough.
Okay. Well then, what I am going to ask for is, and I realize this is largely unintentional. Like, it's just an arbitrary way to determine how this plan works out, because I can't think of any other way to do it, really. But what I would like is, you are now about to roll discreet for your entire defensive force, right? And how we're going to do this is the 4 of you, and I will allow an extra 1 for Anton. I don't know if that's an advantage or disadvantage, honestly. To roll discreet. And I will basically, if a majority of you success. If a majority of you do not succeed, perhaps not. Oh, and I'll allow 1 for Revelia as well. And if it's even, I'm just going to give the Templars a vigilant roll, right? So we've got a thumbs up from Steo. I'd like Elindra if you could roll for Revelia as well. And I don't know, can I have an Anton roll from... Does anyone have Anton's sheet easily to hand?
I do not.
I do.
Okay, then John can roll it.
Elindra rolled a 1. Revelia rolled a 20.
Okay, so sum total, nothing.
Oh.
Yeah. but Steo's still real good. So we've got 1 success, 2 successes, and a failure. So, Askarai, how did you do?
Askarai's discreet is 13, and I rolled exactly 13.
3 successes, so we're at least even. Are we? Yes.
Yeah, which is
Aaron
lucky. Aaron and Anton both failed.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to resolve this entirely by rolling the Vigilant of Ivano Viara. So, and he is in no way the stat block I looked at and thought, how the fuck are they going to do this? So, you know, he'll be fine. Tension. There are murmurs that you can hear from further up to kind of towards where the fields are. You hear like low voices talking. And then very suddenly, in fact, can someone roll their Vigilant? Who's going to be at a window, do we think? Does anyone think they'd particularly be at a window or near a window? It's not a window, it's an opening, but yeah. Okay, then I will roll randomly. On the inside, it is Steo. You are near the window. Could you roll Vigilant, please? Okay, then you are surprised by the face of Lieutenant Iolna ducking into view in front of the window. Prepare for the symbols. They are not coming here. He rolled a 5 against a Vigilant of only 9.
Oh. Okay. Well, get yourselves ready. Looks like it's a field battle after all.
Our day just got worse.
Only seconds after you say that, there is a clash of cymbals and the bellowing voice of Colonel. Why has he vanished from my thing? There. I need his name. Why have I not got his name? Is that because I'm not? That's because I'm looking at the wrong page. Colonel Morego. The bellowing voice of Colonel Morego you hear raised up. Out! Out! Form ranks! Form ranks in front of the market! Hold the market at our back! Then the Thiegs can take their place there! Spread out to the buildings at the end of the line! People are pouring out from the buildings. If you want to stay up high, Askarai, it sounds like I'm not holding up the image again with the fear of ruining my mood. But like that's basically that top open area of the marketplace to the field is being blocked off by lines, right? But at each end of that are buildings. You probably don't even have to climb down. You could probably leap 2 buildings to the north. Like there's only 6 feet gap between them. You could probably leap them and just be on the edge of that building.
Okay, yeah. I think Askarai will cool down to the rest of the party and say, can we guard that flank? Then I can stay on the building. Seems an important position in any case.
Okay.
Sounds good. Stick together.
Okay. Yeah, you move out from the building and you can see that there is no one has taken position in front of that building that Askarai is leaping his way to yet. So you make your way over there. Everyone is still kind of roughly in their groups. The center position seems to be kind of the City Watch and the Mound Guard, as you kind of expect, who are forming a kind of shield wall over the opening of the marketplace, and there's several individuals behind them with like long spears or pikes who are kind of holding them out in front to try and prevent a cavalry charge. The colonel is desperately yelling for a few of these guard and city watch to move to the ends of the line so they can like turn on the edges. And you can see at the back, Elindra, that several carts and wagons have been brought up, and Berlioz is arranging that those roads at the back be blocked off and the like entrance. So basically they can't come at you from, or with difficulty, they will come at you from behind to like charge the rear.
So they're just trying to understand the bigger picture here. So that they're still coming to roughly this area, but we've lost the element of surprise.
No, they're not coming to this area at all. But by forming here, you hope to make them attack.
Bring them here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If they can eliminate the defenders of Ravenna in one strike, then they'll do that.
Otherwise, we're going to chase them and sort of pin them against the walls, basically.
Yeah, that is the idea. As you take your places in front of this building, so you've got a building at your back and Ascaria above you. You can see that the Lightbringer's cart is being like brought forwards, and Fenring and Desaber are atop it, and the other like guard are forming up just to the left and slightly behind of you, along like backing up the ranks of the Mound Guard and the City Watch. Urfons is with you, though. He's actually stood slightly in front of you, all kind of like doing some practice swings of his blade out in front of him in large glittering arcs to limber up. You can see, incidentally, Ascarai, that over on the other building on the other side of the market from you, you can see there are a number of archers and a number of Ordo Magica have set up there, and you hear some scrabbling from the sides of your building, and a couple of Ordo novices and another Ordo in the robes of a master she clambers to the top and kind of glances over in surprise to see you there and gives you a brief nod and a nervous smile before kind of kneeling down and arraying a set of kind of like focuses and various kind of like magical and alchemical supplies along the side of the building in front of her.
That's go on the back. Good luck. Out of interest, is Duke Inadar anywhere?
Yes, Duke Inadar is stood. Actually, you know what? He was pacing along the back of the line of the general front. Well, it's not really a front line because there's multiple lines, but like along the back and like shouting orders and encouragement and alongside the colonel. But now he has clambered onto the cart alongside the Lightbringer. There is a younger individual there with him, maybe a boy of about 16 or so, who is carrying Ravenna's banner.
Nice.
And he's still kind of like shouting encouragement. He's quite near the front line, and also Templars don't really use bows. But if you did, you might say to him, "Don't stand on top of that cart." But that's what he's doing.
Okay.
Interestingly, none of you can see any sign of the Vajvod warriors. You saw them disappear into buildings earlier, but they appear to have not joined this line, and you suspect that they've been told to do something else, but you don't know what that is.
That's weirdly comforting.
Yeah, if we don't know what it is, then the Templars don't know what it is either.
Sure. The dust on the horizon has resolved itself. Well, no, they're not on the horizon, otherwise they wouldn't know where they are. You can see the Templar forces. The sun is over to the northeast of you, basically on a track to enter Barbarian Town and round the walls to go to where the gate was, or is, you hope. However, almost as soon as the line starts forming, you hear cries from out in their direction, and they halt and start to turn the column and slowly pace their horses forward.
They're coming.
You've been in a cavalry charge before?
No.
No.
The other kind of caravan guards near you go, no, Sergeant.
It's going to be absolutely fine. There's really nothing to it. Just don't die.
I think now seems as good a time as any to activate my Revenant Strike.
That seems like a good idea. It seems like no one is going to point their finger at you for heresy here on this one.
While there is a turn in which to do it.
Who's driving Anton this session?
Ooh, you have the sheet.
Okay. In that case, Anton should probably activate Blessed Shield.
Who's going to put it on?
That's a good question.
You don't have to roll for it. You've got enough time to prepare. You don't have to roll for it.
How many people can you put it on now?
I think just one other and him, right? Yeah.
No, I thought... Oh, yeah, you're right.
I think so.
Yeah, he can currently only do one.
I
think
feel like he would do
level.
Disable
He
or the
could do
Duke.
Maybe.
Yeah. I feel like he would do either Disable or the Duke rather than one of us. But I don't know.
I think Disable would swat him away, and I think the Duke has more senior resources providing assistance.
They're both quite visible, quite high profile targets. Is kind of the point. Like they're probably who the Templars are likely to make a beeline to once they've spotted.
You know what? I would say that both of them have a Blessed Shield around them already.
Okay. I was going to say if they're going to have a Blessed Shield, like Desaba will have Blessed Shield, and hers will be.
I think Desaba has a Blessed Shield, and it's covering everyone in that cart.
Yeah. So it will either be between Steo and Alindra. Alindra gets hit more, so probably Alindra. Is that what we usually do? Is that what he does? I never get it, so I don't pay attention.
He quite often does it on whoever seems to be most kind of.
It's usually Alindra or Steo. It's usually Alindra or Steo. Yeah.
Yeah. Askara if he's too close to things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here I feel very safe. Well, safe-ish.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to go on Alindra.
Okay. There is still some noise on your side. The Colonel, the Duke are still shouting their orders. You can hear Commander Berlioz as well. You can hear Lieutenant Ialna somewhere. The Masters of the Order Magica are muttering to their adepts and novices. Leandro is a chair has been brought here for him, and he is keeping up not a sermon, but an encouraging, continuing incantation of the blessings of Prios. You can see the backline is definitely taking some heart from. What other kind of lead? You can't see where Mulgara is if she's involved. What other leaders should we have here? Your man from Galea Trading House is not here. Obviously. Is there anyone? Oh, the Fortune Hunters are just spread out among the line in this, almost around. They're basically individuals just fighting for themselves, but they should be quite competent. The one slight exception to that is that Athelda, the monster slayer, is stood near the center of the line with the towering no good next to her. They're looking fairly unconcerned. But that just, is probably because if they were worried about the prospect of death, then they wouldn't have been going into Davakar for so long. The Templar son, or I should say the dead Prios son, is lining up about, let's say, half a kilometer ahead of where you are across the field, in quite a tight column that makes it quite difficult to estimate how many of them there are. But I'm perfectly happy for any of you to roll cunning if you want to make that estimate. It's going to be at a -2.
I was literally about to ask if I could figure this out, so I guess I'll roll. Oh, I succeed.
Your best guess would be about 80.
80. Okay. I'll relay this to anybody within earshot if they're interested.
And the front rank of horse looks to be about 20 wide. So maybe they're 4 deep, or maybe they're doing something else with their rear horse. You don't know.
We can take 80.
We've almost doubled their numbers. It's going to be no problem.
I sort of cast a sideways glance at Steo and presume that he's saying this for the benefit of the less experienced people around us.
Yeah, if I was making rolls to try and make this convincing, I'd be failing them.
You're Aragorn looking at that piece of shit sword, going, "This is a good sword."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
going to half draw my Dar family sword. Just put my hand over the crest that's set into the handle, and then sheathe it and draw my fighting blades.
Is anyone else having any last-minute preparations before battle is upon you?
I don't think so. That's where I might get a bunch of arrows out and put them somewhere conveniently placed rather than like on his back or wherever he normally has arrows, just to have them around.
Okay.
Might check the equipment of the other archers on the roof. But
Okay. From the line of the Templars, a single figure rides forward and rides until there's only maybe 100 meters between you and him. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, the largest man any of you have ever seen. And I am including people like Thunderber, the barbarian warlord. He looks like an ogre on a horse. And he's clad head to foot in what was once Templar armor and has now been soot blackened to look like it absorbs the sun's light thoroughly. And with a voice powerful enough to carry across that distance as the sun is dimming in the background. Only dimming, though, it's kind of just starting to sink. You've still got maybe about another hour of sunlight available to you. He shouts, "If any of you wish to abandon your loyalty to your heretic duke, I cannot guarantee your safety. But know that if you run and feel our sword in your back, you will die in Prios grace, what there is left of it. Or perhaps your duke will come forwards, receive his justice, and spare his people the lash." There is silence across the field. The Duke, after a moment of looking around, perhaps almost seeming to look to see if anyone suggests he should do this, only to find that no one does, takes the banner off his squire and lifts it high and kind of waves it backwards and forwards proudly. Those of you with good eyes can see Ivano Viara give just the slightest of shrugs in his towering black armor before he wheels his horse back to his line. Elindra, you are not sure that you could lift the sword he is carrying.
Fair enough.
You certainly couldn't fight with it.
Great.
Okay. Ivano Viara returns to his line, and the instant he forms up with them, the line starts cantering forwards at a slow pace. You hear the colonel bellow, "Brace!" And everyone with a spear or a pike tilts it forward and places their foot on the back of the base. Are we doing
Even
the same?
Steo's going to do this almost out of almost forgetting himself, because obviously he doesn't have a shield wall. He just has a lot of meat.
Revelia still has that spear on her. So I think we'll swap out for the spear.
It's a good idea to do so, yeah.
And Elindra's got a quite big sword, which does much the same thing.
Yeah, you can see Earthon's on the order to brace kind of adopts an odd position that's like one leg. I'm just going to be a nerd here. One leg kind of swept around far behind him, like pushing against the floor and holding the double. Yeah, essentially like it's a spear, but without but instead the pommel is braced on his rib cage, out like that, and does the same. You don't need to see him do it to do that. You've been trained as a Templar to how to receive a cavalry charge with a double-handed sword, so that's what you also do. You can see a couple of other people with larger weapons kind of seeing that you're doing that and do the same thing. And the front row does, it's not bristling with points, but it's not bristling either, and that's something. The charge of the sun starts as like a distant rolling noise and becomes a kind of churn of drumming as the hooves pound across the open space between you. They start at like I say, at a slow canter that increases and increases until around maybe 100 meters from the front of your line. They start to charge, and it's taken them a good maybe 30 seconds or so to get to this point. That last 100 meters probably takes 3 or 4, and as they charge, the column like focuses into the middle and batters straight into the center of the spear line, a little bit away from where you are. And then you don't really even have time to see how the lines survive that impact before the rear lines of the sun spread out on the charge and kind of charge on a diagonal across lines towards where you are. And before you know it, several Templar enforcers are kind of in among your group, chopping down with their blades and trying to break aiming very specifically for anyone holding a spear or a long blade. With that in mind, shall we go into a bit of combat, please? So, John, the only extra initiative you need is the Fallen Templars, and their stats are Quick 13 and Vigilance 7.
I had them as Black Templars.
That's fine.
Fallen Templars. Okay. Then I can just.
So, I mean, we don't need to ask who's going first. It's Ascarai. Ascarai, actually, you can see a bit better than the others, and you can see that the central line is currently holding. There are 2 notable things you can see from the general mass, because it's quite difficult to see. First, the Templars, they don't seem reluctant at all to just push their horses into the line. And a couple of them have already fallen with kind of like with animalistic screams, but they don't seem to care. And there are several horses like amongst the line, the Templars chopping down. The other 2 things that noted from you, just before the Templars kind of hit, you saw a towering figure leap forward from the line, the Ogre No Good, who seemed to literally collide with a charging horse, grab it by its front haunches, and just push it up backwards until the horse literally collapsed over backwards, screaming. The Templar crushed underneath it. You lost him now in the like, in the melee. You also saw Ivana Riara hit the line. He is already near the back, because as he hit, he lifted himself up on his he stood up on his horse, essentially. Still not up on it, you know what I mean. He like pushed himself up in his saddle, swept down with his blade, and you saw 3 mount guard bisected.
But he's like right in the center of the line.
Yeah, he's not through by into the marketplace yet, but he is like, he's nearly broken the line by himself. People are like swarming around him, desperately trying to get in his way. But he is like slowly turning his horse that colossal sword kind of like crashing around him. Basically, you can tell already he is trying to open a straight line to the Duke in the wagon.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, Ascarai, your friends are fighting a number of Templar enforcers. And this is what you can see of the rest of the battlefield. It's just chaos all along the line. It's quite... at this point, you cannot tell how things are doing. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Okay. I think Ascarai is going to shoot at a Templar that's charging like into our part of this line with no particular like whatever one seems to be like the first easiest to hit Templar, he's going to shoot at it.
Sure, absolutely. What I'm gonna, you know what I should do actually? I will roll to see. I'm gonna kind of roll to see how many Templars are immediately amongst this little group of you. And the answer to that is there's 5 of them. And then I will roll. I will allow certain people to be next to each other by default, like Elindra and Revelia, for instance. But otherwise, I'm going to roll to see who people are kind of in contact with, right? So with that in mind, let's roll for Arindar. Let's roll for Steo. Let's roll for Elindra and Revelia. I'm happy for you two to be together. And let's roll for Urfons as well, right? And let's
forget
roll for Father Anton. Unbelievably, that's 1 each, which is crazy. But there we go. So literally everyone is engaged with an individual Templar. I'm not saying that they're the only people engaged with them because there's the other caravan guards nearby. It's not that clean, okay? But, like, yeah. So if you've got any preference on like targeting anyone in particular, now is the time.
Someone who's going after Anton would be Ascarai's...
He's probably the most vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah. That would be the ideal target.
Okay. Well, then go for that. I'm assuming you're using your armor penetrating attack. They're all in head to toe plate.
I'm for sure going to use armor penetrating. I'm also going to use the Hunter's Instinct to give me a second chance there, and also a D4 extra damage.
Cool. Go for it. Their defense is -3.
I need a 13 or less. Actually, a 14 or less because my bow gives me plus. That's a 10, so it hits.
Okay. Roll for your damage, and while you roll for your damage, I will also make a roll.
Okay, I think I roll. These are cultural beings, which I have plus 1 D4 against. And then I also have the D4 from Hunter's Instinct. So I have 2 extra D4 against these guys. Okay, that is 10 damage, ignoring armor.
Well, I suggest you look at man-at-arms at master level.
Ooh.
Because it does not ignore armor. They have to make a roll for each hit. But they made that roll.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, things like that. Let me just very quickly check their pain threshold, although I doubt it's 5. In fact, I should note down their pain threshold just for quick reference so I don't have to keep hopping back to the sheet. Okay, yeah, your arrow kind of crashes into their breastplate. Well, not into the breastplate, into the join between their breastplate and their shoulder guard. And it does stick in there, and they kind of grunt and start laying about themselves with even more fury. But other than that, they're not particularly slowing down. So, yeah.
Okay, tough.
Elindra, you have a horse about to crash into you, but I will give you your free attack for being long and bracing, right?
Cool.
So yeah.
So they're -3 to hit, right?
Correct.
So I need a 12 or less. We got a 19. Oh, is it spending XP time? Yeah, I'd quite like to hit this one.
Okay.
I'm going to spend an XP to reroll that. 5, so that's a hit.
Okay. Well then, why don't you roll your damage?
Cool. That's got the Revenant Strike on it, so that's D12 plus 2D4 plus 1. 18.
Ooh. Okay, that is definitely beyond their even with their armor, that's beyond their pain threshold. 18, did you say? Yeah.
Yep.
So they are down to that. That's pretty good. Yeah. Do you want to knock them down, or do you want to get another strike? If you knock them down, the horse is going down as well.
Oh, I see. And that's then they're just gonna lose any advantage from being mounted.
I mean, yeah, and they'll be on the ground for at least one round.
Yeah.
And Revelia is right next to you.
It's not a thing that we normally do because enemies normally get up annoyingly quickly. But I think if he's mounted, the opportunity to make him not be that.
Yes, no, that's a very good thing, because if you swing and miss, then you'll be kicking yourself. Yeah. He kind of topples backwards. You don't really register how your thrust went, other than it really made contact. But he goes down and his hands, his gauntlets are kind of bound into the reins. The horse tips as well, and it all crashes to the ground. And honestly, if you down someone on a horse, I'm kind of thinking in this immediate contact, I'm kind of thinking they're you're not in contact with them anymore. I'm just going to hold them to one side, and if you might not even see them again in this battle, right?
Okay,
because, it's chaos.
If they're not going to be a problem, then I've still got my regular attack, right?
You do, yeah.
So that was the initial attack, which I downed them as the kind of bonus thing, and so now there's another attack which I could use to attack the one that's facing off against Revelia.
No, you are both facing off against one.
Ah, okay, right.
Yeah.
However,
to either side of you, to your left is Earthons, and to your right is Anton.
Let's take the one attacking Anton.
Okay, yeah, you can swing out for them. So yeah, give me a roll at a -3.
That is a fail, and no.
Do you have a backswing or anything?
Oh yes, I do. That's good reminding. Which one was that? That's the 2. Sorry, I just need to remember which one that is.
I'm assuming it's the same thing they have, two-handed Force Adept.
Oh yeah, it's the two-handed Force Adept. Yeah. So it's
just
another attack.
Another attack roll, and you get it's D8.
That is a hit. Is that D8 plus any of the bonuses, or is that
no,
just a D8?
Just D8.
Okay, that's a 4.
Okay, that doesn't get through their armor, but you swing around and kind of you can see that this individual already has an arrow in them, a suspiciously familiar looking arrow. But your blade kind of clangs onto the side of their armor, and it they move a bit, but it doesn't kind of put them off what they're doing. So yeah, what does Revelia want to do? Does Revelia I'm going to say that long free attack is from the charge. I think everyone now is too close in chaos to get a free attack with a spear. But if she wants to make her actual attack on Anton's guy, then she's welcome to.
So she had the spear but didn't get the long attack from it.
No, because the person on the charge didn't make contact because you.
Oh, that's true. Right? Yeah, that's for him. Okay. Can she switch as an action? I can't remember now. Is that a combat action to switch weapons? To just throw the spear down?
No. She wants to switch to her blade and.
Yeah. So I think the spear was just for the kind of initial hit. So she will just kind of throw that down and pull out the sword and go after the one with Anton.
She could throw the spear.
it's not really worth it unless she has the steel throw.
She does not. She's not particularly skilled with the spear. She just seems to have been carrying one around for ages. Right. That's a hit.
Okay.
The
what's
sword,
damage like?
The sword is a D10. 6.
Okay. She basically, everyone is being kind of buffeted around by these massive horses moving so close to you, and you see her with some precision and care, and clearly like it's quite good behavior. She's not like trying to hit this massive armored guy on the horse. She's moved close to the horse, kind of risking being knocked over, and has taken her her blade. Oh my god, the term for it has completely escaped my brain. John, help me out. Holding by the blade. The term for it has completely escaped my brain.
I mean, there's ending rightly, but that's
yeah.
That's
No, but it's the specific term for anyway. She's got one hand around the guard and another on the blade, and is literally just found the joint between the knee joint, and is literally just standing there, not like attacking, like haha. She's literally like it's a manual job, just trying to get the edge of the blade between this and like shove it into the guy's knee. And it's a little way in, and she's kind of like pushing it around enough that you can see like he's like trying to move his leg away, but you don't think it's like there's only like that much of it in. You know what I mean? Like she's not doing huge amounts of damage, but she's causing a problem for him. Half swording. Thank you, old Uncle Mojo. I knew someone in chat would get it because we're all a bunch of nerds. Yeah, she's half swording. There we go. That's Revelia's turn, right? I don't think there's anything else to be done.
Yep.
No. Okay. On the Fallen Templar's turn, everyone, and I'm including, actually, I won't include Revelia because of what she's doing, but I'm going to include Elindra because there's just more lines of them pushing in, right? So it's not going to, you're not going to be protected. Maybe Askarai won't get hit at this stage. But basically, everyone else is going to take a hit from a Fallen Templar, right? So, can everyone please roll their defense at a minus? Ooh, that's interesting. Does Berserker increase your chance to hit? It doesn't. It just increases your damage. Okay, can everyone roll their defense at a -5, please? Apart from Askarai and Revelia. Okay, Steo's a thumb down.
Nope.
You know what, though, Steo? Actually, on the off chance, let's hold off on Steo's for 1 second. So that's a thumbs up from Arindar. How did Elindra do? Thumbs down. How did Anton do? Thumbs down. Okay, so we'll get to those in a second. I know I'm doing things chaotically here, but hey, it's the chaos of battle. Steo, you know what? Before we roll your hit, let's roll your free attack. Because I think it impacts what's happening, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'd attack at -3.
-3, 15, 14, 13, 12. -1 is 11. +1 is 12 because the spear is good. Roller coaster.
Roller coaster journey. Roll your damage, please, then, for the Templar impacting on your spear.
It's still just D10 +1, isn't it? Good spear. Where's the good spear? Yeah, D10 +1. That's a 5.
Unfortunately, that doesn't get over their armor, so.
However, as my attack succeeded,
no. I don't think you can hold them. Like I'm gonna, I can't see how you can hold back. Like,
why is it always
coming
my 30 experience point skills
he's coming
that turn
in
out to be useless?
He's coming in. There are lines of horse behind. Like I don't think you can possibly. And you've got a wall at your back. I would probably, if you didn't have a wall at your back, I'd say yes. But I just don't see how you can prevent them getting within your engagement. Soz.
Well, I was looking to bring a new character in anyway.
So with that in mind, okay, so let's handle the people who are hit first. That's Elindra, Anton, and Steo, who are. Go ahead and roll your armor, and I will then tell you how much you are hit by. Yeah. Oh, and this is the cavalry charge as well.
6 armor.
Don't forget the blessed shield for Anton.
Oh, what does that add? I forget.
Oh yeah, Lindra's got it as well, right?
I think it's a D6. I was just going to double check, but I believe it's D6.
On top of the regular armor. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a 6 from the regular armor and a 1 from the blessed shield.
God, and Tom.
Okay.
5
5 there. Okay, so going through each of you in order. That is let me see. What would that been right or wrong? No, we'll trigger it the next round. It's fine.
Sorry, Matt. I realised I was looking at the wrong character sheet there for the dice. So I'm on a D10 armor, not a D8. I'll take the 1 from the blessed shield.
Yeah.
That's worse actually. That's a 5. So
fair enough.
6.
Okay. I'm just trying to calculate if something has been like accounted for in the stat block here, but I think it has been because it was accounted for there. Yes, no, that's right. Okay, could you? The damage is going to be 9 to each of you. So obviously reduce that by your armor.
I just need to double check something.
He can't be downed yet, surely.
He's not, but it did pass his pain threshold. I rolled 4 armor.
God.
Okay.
And it was, you said 9?
They're going to choose to knock him down.
Yeah.
That's what a cavalry charge is meant to do. They're going to knock him down. So Anton is thrown back against like the wall and kind of crashes to the ground. What's everyone's toughness looking like, though?
Elindra's still on 17, so she's just getting warmed up, really.
Yeah.
I'm down to 9.
Okay. Anton's on
half health, so he's on 5 out of 10.
Okay.
I don't know why his pain threshold is 4, but I'm assuming it's right.
Yeah, I mean, if it's half, it's just half your strong, right? I think.
Yeah, the minimum health is 10. Sorry.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, John, but you rolled your defense, and that means you get a free attack, right?
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me.
And that's with at a -3, please.
Okay, so a target of 13. I rolled a 19.
Okay. I take it we're not re-rolling. You still have your turn to come. It's worth pointing out.
That's true. Yeah, I'm not going to reroll.
Okay. And on that, it's your turn.
Then I'm going to try again.
Okay.
That is a 16, which is on a -3, still a miss.
Okay. Any rerolls happening?
Yeah, I don't want 2 fails in one go.
Okay. Burn that XP.
That is a pass.
Okay. Roll for damage then, please.
It is a D12. That's cocked, but it was almost a 12. That's a 7.
Okay. All right. You, again, probably like Revelia, you're trying to find the joints in the armor because you're not going to do anything by trying to crash against this. And you stab out and you feel like, basically when you didn't really notice any resistance, but when you bring your blade back, the end, like 2 or 3 inches of it is dripping in blood. You maybe got him or her, you can't really tell, under the armpit in like the joint there, but clearly not in the right place and too deep to be like a kid. Like that's quite a good place to try and kill someone, but clearly not the case in this circumstance because they're still up and moving around quite convincingly. So, yeah. Okay, Steo. Taking another stab at your guy.
Yeah, let's have a hack.
Okay, -3, please.
That is a success, I
That's
think.
yeah, you succeeded on a 12 before, so yeah.
D10 plus 1 is 6.
Okay. You kind of thrust out with your spear, and you like basically what happens is you clock them quite hard along the side of the head. So you haven't like penetrated, you haven't gone into a gap, but you like they're definitely kind of like shaking their head a little bit from getting a strong man cracking the side of their head with a spear is still something. So there we go. Is Father Anton getting up?
Yeah, I think that's just a move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'll get up and try a flail.
Yep, sure. Absolutely. That'll be a flail at -3, please.
Ugh.
Actually, let me wind back to getting up.
Okay.
I think in the crush of this melee, you have to roll to get up, or it takes a whole turn. Give me a quick roll for Anton, and if not, you know what? Actually, I'll say if not, he can't get up this turn. I'm going to be even harsher, but I think that's harsh but fair. I think by terms of narrative and how things work.
Quick roll, you say?
Yeah.
We're stood between a cavalry charge and a wall, right? Like it's.
You just missed.
Yeah. Okay.
8 over 7.
On future turns, I'll add buffs to that roll. So eventually you're gonna get up, right? But like, it could take a while to do that. And then we've got NPCs. So let's just go into like a descriptive thing of how that works. So Earthon's hurts the horse charging into him horribly on the charge. Their leg looks like it's partly hanging off, and they're kind of crashing down, like falling forwards, causing a couple of the other caravan guards to like move backwards. As they crash to the ground, Earthon's kind of scrambles over the horse and thrusts his sword kind of up under the what's called the gorget, like up under there, like into the helmet of the Templar, and like heaves himself forward, and there's a gurgle and a scream as the Templar dies on the end of his sword. He then kind of leaps back from it and like swings his sword out in a wide arc to try and like move back the horse that have like tried to move in on the gap this has caused, and is sort of pacing back to retreat back towards Elindra, where Elindra and Revelia are. It was a flashy move, but it pushed him forward a few steps, and that was a bit of a mistake. So he's now trying to like clamber backwards to the line. Who else have we got who are notable? You know what, Ascarai? Each turn in this, you can ask me what's happening with one individual on the battlefield. Who you can
I want to ask what's happening with Viara.
Okay. So yeah, Ivano Viara has cleared a small space around him. Primarily, like he's chopped a couple of people down, but he's also encouraging his horse. And like him, the largest one you think you've ever seen to kind of batter people. It's more like a Shire, like a you know, if it's more like a, are we familiar with Shire horses? Yeah. Yeah, okay. More like a Shire horse than a war horse. And Shire horses are fucking huge. And it kind of has battered several people around. He's trying to clear some space around him. He is kind of gearing at his horse for it to take a couple of steps back. He looks like he's going to try and charge literally through the line in order to get to the caravan. And even now you can hear like the voice of the colonel like shouting at the top of his lungs from near the caravan, kind of like, take a step back, protect the Duke, protect the Duke. So it looks like he's gearing up to charge towards the Duke and the Lightbringer.
Okay, going great.
Yeah. The people the colonel is calling at include your group. So he's basically wanting you to like pull back away from the line that's come at you and kind of bulk up the area around the wagon so that Viara can't charge directly into it.
Right.
Do we think we're obviously Askarai? It doesn't make any difference to you. Aaron, could everyone who's not Askarai roll vigilant at a -1 for me, please? And you can roll for Anton and Revelia. Okay.
They both fail.
Okay. How about Arendar? Nope. Okay. Askarai, you don't think that any of your friends have heard this?
I think while we're still struggling ourselves, Askarai is not going to even attempt to relay this information. He wants to make sure that like Antoms are doing all right, and he's not going to like shout it down like, get back to the Duke. Like, until we're okay, he's not going to worry about the Duke.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. With that in mind, you know what? I think I'm trying to come up with a climactic moment, but because it's so like it's so reliant on our rolls here, so I can't kind of guarantee it. And it's our first night back. You know what? With the Duke threatened and the line holding for now, sort of, I think we'll end the session there. So if you've got any comments that you want us to talk about, pop them into chat. And we'll get to them. First, the usual nonsense blurb. Check down below. Links, you know, the kind of thing. Discord, social media, blah, 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 blah. We're running a bunch of campaigns on a weekly basis at the moment. Mondays is Johnny running Call of Cthulhu, Masks of Nile Votep, massive long-running campaign, only really just started. Symbaroum is this. It's on Wednesdays. You know that. Alternate Thursdays is Yellow King. We're doing a session tomorrow. We're currently in the 1895 Paris phase of that very unique cosmic horror game. So come join us for that. It'll be a good, horrific one. That's myself running that. We run one-shots from time to time as well. Haven't done any in a little while. Don't have any massively on the radar, although a little bird tells me that maybe something will be happening around the end of November. I'm the little bird. My brain is the little bird. But I don't know what that is. You know what, though? Here's a freebie for everyone. Shall I tell it? Would everyone like to know what I'm thinking of running for it? Yeah? Yeah? Sure. Would anyone be really excited by that? This is what I'm thinking of running. Electric State. Steven's about to get down his identical copy. There we go. The latest Fria Ligan game. Again, from the mind of Simon Stalenhag. It's not in the same world as Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood, though, but it is not entirely similar, but, you know, it's a Stalenhag-esque sort of like, it's kind of like a quiet techno-apocalypse. It's really cool. I didn't really know much about it when I was just like, Fria Ligan, Stalenhag, yeah, I'm in. And I tend not to read too much about these things. But, you know, I browsed it. I have the art book, and I've never read it. So, whatever. Yeah.
I think the Electric State is my favorite thing that Stalenhag has done. So I'm excited by this world.
I read through this and was like, this is super cool, and possibly the most polished and fancy indie RPG I've ever seen, because it is not like a lot of Fria Ligan stuff is quite thoughtful, but like this reads like something made by an art collective from like somewhere. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of fun. Quiet techno apocalypse. Sort of a journey, like a road trip kind of thing. It's cool, and I'm very strongly thinking about running it for probably the end of November. It's looking like, I think, for a one shot. So if you're interested in that, you know, talk about that on the Discord or whatever. Okay. Have we got any comments or questions in chat, please, John?
We've got a thumbs up for Electric State.
Thumbs up. That's what I like to see. Yes.
We've got this from Steve.
Quiet techno apocalypse is definitely a music genre, and one I'd probably love. So, yeah. Absolutely.
I like.
Well,
this one.
maybe not quiet.
I like this one from Sam.
We're semi-bristled. Like, I have to feel like that is a worse bit of. Is that's
Don't
worse
put it
than
up
this,
again.
right?
Don't.
That's
No,
worse
it's not.
than that.
It's not.
Nothing's
No?
worse than
I
that.
don't know.
I don't think a thing
Semi-bristled
is.
was an accurate description.
I didn't mean it.
The thing is, like, it's a fine map. It's just you preface the whole thing with a statement of intent that you're not going to draw
It's
anything
not
lewd,
intent.
and then
I
it's a
didn't mean
fella
it.
with his vegetables out.
Look,
It is a bit like whatever you do, don't think of pink elephants and then show me a picture.
I
of a pink
honestly,
elephant.
like, looking at it now, I'm like, I can't believe I said that. I said it and was looking at it and was like, but this is fine. And then showed it and went, oh no, it's literally the worst thing it could possibly be.
Your subconscious was trying to warn you, and that warning sort of came in your outside voice, and that just
And you weren't listening to yourself.
What
That
it's
was the
really
problem.
taught me, or I knew this already, but what it's really taught me is I should never try and draw anything for, like, I'm glad this was Symbaroum. That's all I'm saying, because we can get away with this in Symbaroum. If I'd done that for Yellow King, I'd probably cancel a campaign. I mean, it's done. It's ruined.
Thankfully, Symbaroum is a famously smutty and rude campaign. So
the somber and jarring cosmic horror atmosphere has been completely ruined forever by this. But Symbaroum's grim and gritty, but we can get away with it. We've had Buffet for so long that we, if we were going to ruin the campaign, we'd already have done it by now. Don't think about that too much. About how our campaign is already ruined. Let's move on. Semi-bristled. Hate it. Thanks.
We're skipping over. We addressed all of the comments about the map. We're ignoring those.
Yeah, sure. I feel very safe. Well, safe-ish, moderately safe, not in immediate danger at the moment. Yeah,
like you could
in
be
2024.
about to be murdered.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have, as you already shouted out, old Uncle Mojo giving us the correct term.
Half sorting. Yes. Thank you, Mojo. Appreciate that. I don't know why it vanished from my head. While you're looking for stuff, I should also mention that 42 resubscribed. So thank you very much. Welcome back, Symbaroum crew. We very much appreciate it. Thank you, 42. Always a pleasure to have you around. Nothing else, John? Was that the lot? Cool. Okay.
Also, I just want to correct my previous statement. I thought it was. I said it was something like ending rightly. If I recall correctly, that's the joke one where you unscrew the end of your sword and throw it at your enemy.
I mean, it's not. Yeah. I mean, you say it's a joke. It genuinely appears to be like something that's in a Renaissance sword manual.
But that's it's in a sword manual, but we don't know whether it's there as in this is an actual tactic or if it's
it could literally be a
else.
joke.
Try this.
It could be a Renaissance sword meme.
Yeah,
because these things were often passed around among people who knew each other or like were trained in the same fashion, and it may literally be a common Renaissance joke.
Yeah.
We don't know it.
I think regardless of the truth of that origin story, that's something that I want to see Arendar do one day.
Yeah.
Just as a parting blow.
Yeah, it would not be a good idea
no.
to dismantle your sword to throw it at your opponent. But
you'd have to know that you were done, right?
Yeah, you'd just be like, well, maybe if I make them laugh, maybe they'll let me go.
I think the advantage, like, rather than throwing the entire sword, is if you just take the hilt off, then you still have the crossbar and the blade, so you've got like two other pieces of ammunition.
It's still, I mean, like the pommel is still a chunk of metal, right? If that comes off, you could get some weight behind that. That's a nasty welt.
I like that from Steve. That's the copy protection tell. That technique only appears in the book. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our first stream back, folks. Well, some of these other people have been streaming all this time, but certainly my first stream back. I will be live with the Yellow King crew again tomorrow. A rumor has it that a couple of the people here are even on the Yellow King crew, but I couldn't possibly confirm or deny that. Yeah, we'll see you then, and we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Farewell, take care, stay safe, goodbye.